the griefs and the anxieties of the men of this age, especially those who are poor or in any way afflicted. These are the joys and the hopes, the griefs and the anxieties of the followers of Christ. Just a little step forward. After this text, Titus was a contemplative and at the same time a prophet. He was a contemplative because he was able to see around him the signs, humble, small, fragile, vulnerable signs of the presence of God in our life. I used to say that to be a contemplative is not about to be all the time looking at the sky like, excuse me the expression, like an idiot, you know. This is not a contemplative. A contemplative is the one who is able to look around and discover the little signs of the presence of God. This is not easy. This is very difficult because sometimes my life is boring, or my life is routine, or my life is full of problems, difficulties, and this fellow, me, is saying that we have to discover the signs of the presence of God in my boring life, in my everyday life. This is the real contemplative. This is the real contemplative. To do that, we have to clean also our way of seeing, you know. In English, we use the word cataracts. Cataracts for, yeah. So we have cataracts in the eyes, but sometimes we have cataracts in the soul. And that's why we are not able to contemplate the signs of the presence of God in your life, in your everyday life. I'm not talking about Cinderella or about the Lord of the Rings. No, in your life, you know, and so on. Once I was talking about this, and I was insisting in your family, in your life, you have to discover the presence of God and so on. And an old lady at the bottom of the hall, probably she was a little bit deaf because she was speaking loud. I was saying that and she said, "Oh, this fellow doesn't know my husband." So like saying, if he knew my husband, he wouldn't speak that way, you know, about finding God in my life and so on. And everybody were laughing, and I pretended not to. I had not heard that, you know. But it's a good objection. Eh? This fellow doesn't know my husband. If he knew my husband, he wouldn't speak about that, about reality. But of course, every life can be very difficult. Or we have periods of great faith, great enthusiasm. We see the sense of our life. My life is fruitful. I have a mission in life. I am important for other people. But there are periods in which my life is senseless. I don't see the sense of my life. If I am not here, nobody will miss me. You know, this is also life. We have to be mature enough to accept different situations in life. But in any situation, we should be able to find these signs of the presence of God. Sometimes clerics and bishops and religious, sometimes we are very critical about our society, and we say, oh, this is a time of materialism and atheism and hedonism, you know. It's a procession. bishops, when they speak, the procession of isms starts, in the homily, a time of materialism and egoism and hedonism. And it's true. I mean, it's true, And we have to be prophets. Titus was a prophet. We have to criticize that. We have to denounce that. That's true. But at the same time, we have to be also contemplatives. And we have to see that in all this world of hedonism and consumism and atheism, there are always wonderful signs of the presence of God. Even in those who are not believers, even in those who are far away from the church, little signs of solidarity, little signs of the grace of God, Let me tell you a little story, because if not I am going to be very boring. So I tell these stories not to bore you more. In Italy some years ago, there was an interview on television to a missionary, very old missionary, who had been the first white man beyond a river. I think it was in Zambia or in Zimbabwe, somewhere in the very deep Africa. And there was an interview on television, and it was a very old man, and the man in television said to him, "Oh, Father, you have been the first Christian beyond the river and those areas and so on. How do you feel about that? Are you proud of it? You are an adventurer, you are a pioneer. So tell us about your story." And this old man said, "Oh, I was not the first, I was the second." So the man on television was a little bit disappointed. He said, No, you were the first, before no other was there. No, I was the second. And the presenter of television thought perhaps it's a little bit gone, too old. No, you were the first. No, I was the second, because when I got there, the Holy Spirit was already there. He was the first missionary. The Holy Spirit was already there. So look at what an answer. Holy Spirit was already there. The presence of the Holy Spirit, even in the more far away realms of our world. The Holy Spirit was already there. Of course, I don't want to be too optimistic. Many times these signs are hidden and dirty because of the sin. That's also true, and there are violence and there are selfishness and so on. But the contemplative is the one who is able to discover the presence of God even in the most dramatic situations. Imagine Titus in the concentration camp. He was able to discover the presence of God there. When they were in the camp, he said to the other prisoners, "We have to pray for these German soldiers." And the other prisoners were very angry. "We have to pray for them? They are beating us all the time, they are humiliating us, and we have to pray for them?" Because Titus knew that at the very bottom of the soul of these soldiers, probably there was a little bit of the grace of God, probably hidden. We have to find always the seed of the presence of God. So it's an important message for us. Probably our life is not so dramatic. Hope so, that it's not dramatic. But sometimes our life is gray. And we say, that was life. When we were young, oh my life, I will do this, I will do that. When we were young priests, we were going to convert the world, and at the end, Well, not at the end, no. After some years, we said, I don't know if I know that I'm not to convert the world, and for me it's enough to convert myself. So our aims are very much more humble, but we cannot lose that enthusiasm, that contemplative side. This is very important in life, because when you are contemplative, you are compassionate. When you are contemplative, you understand the weaknesses of others. When you are an ideologist, you are very rigid with the others, But when you are a contemplative, you are tender, you are compassionate, you understand the human weakness, you look reality with other eyes, you look the others with other eyes, and that's an important attitude for a Christian, and especially for a Carmelite. Look at the great saints of Carmel, Thérèse of Lisieux. I am in love with her, with Thérèse of Lisieux. When I read her for the first time, I was 18 years old, and I considered Thérèse of Lisieux unbearable. Oh, my daddy and my mommy and my sweeties and the flowers. I was 18 years old and I said, wow, this is... I cannot stand her. But the immature was not Thérèse, the immature was myself, because she's a wonderful, wonderful woman, and such a strong woman, such a strong faith, Thérèse of Lisieux. And look at her. Do you remember when she was taking care of an old nun? Mother Saint Peter was the name, Madre San Pedro, Madre San Peter. She was sick, and she was in charge of her. And this old nun had a very bad character, a very bad mood, And Thérèse was trying to be nice with her, and today she smiled. Little by little I know that she likes this or that, And once, it was summertime, they went out to the garden, and Thérèse listened the music of a party or something like that, In Europe, in summertime, there are parties in different towns, in different villages, and they heard that. And she had a moment of melancholy, the music. They felt like a temptation, look at the music, I could be dancing in the square of the town instead of taking care of this arrogant nun or unbearable nun and so on. But immediately she changed it. And she says, I felt a sort of happiness that I had never felt before. That I am wasting my life here. I am burning my life here, and I was so happy, Wow, it's a very strong spiritual experience, The contemplative becomes tender, becomes compassionate, becomes nice. When I see that in my own life. When I was younger, I was more ideologist and more critical and more, liberal, protesting. And but when God gets into your soul, I think you'll change your attitude also. We have to be critical. To be critical is good. I'm not saying, but you see reality in a more understanding way, in a more compassionate way. So many attitudes we can imitate of Titus. I think it's time for a little rest. Thank you very much for your attention. I know that it's very difficult. Probably English is not the mother language of any one of us. So we are making an extra effort to speak in English and to understand English. And of course our translators are doing an extra effort. XXL effort. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.